So I'm making this video primarily to show Christians. It's more of an educational video. So you're not going to be able to follow along in the arguments very detailed. I'll post the whole 2-hour video in the YouTube channel under the same name. If you guys want to see the whole 2-hour video, I do have some good conversations in there. But I want to show you this exchange I had with this guy. I let it go for a long time because I'm trying to show grace and I don't want to look like I'm just kicking people who disagree with me. But I want to show Christians how atheist evolutionists debate. And so this guy comes in and he starts using a lot of logical fallacies. Right off the bat, he does what we call an argument from authority. You don't have the requisite education for this. You didn't go to college and you don't have the stamp by your name on this, so you shouldn't be talking about it. That kind of argument. Instead of refuting what I say, he just says you're not smart enough to have this conversation, basically is what he says. So I want you guys to take note how many times, and he does it a lot, this guy makes a position from an argument of authority. I also want you to take, he also notates an argument from majority, which is another logical fallacy. I'll bring up a point and he says, no scientist in the world agrees with this. That's not an argument. All the scientists in the world at one point thought the earth was flat. So saying that they're all in agreement that this is not true is not a truth statement. I don't care if everybody in the world believes it. That's still not a truth statement, right? Now, I want you to notice the point in the debate when it starts to change, because I make a statement, and I make a statement about how bacteria has become resistant to antibiotics, and that the resistance predated the invention of the antibiotics, meaning the resistance was here first. Now, you can do a simple Google search, and that is a fact statement. But when I say it, this guy jumps on it and he actually says I'm silly and crazy, and basically I don't know what I'm talking about until you see me say, Google it, bro, just Google it. And I can't see what he's doing, but apparently he did Google it and realized how wrong he was. So instead of just admitting that he's wrong, he doubles down on dumb. So eventually you'll see, I try to give this guy grace at first. I do match his energy at the end. I don't cuss him out or anything like that, but I do tell him that he's clearly not smart enough to have this conversation because once I think he Googles it, then he tries to filibuster the conversation so that I can't get any words in to refute his claim. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys can learn and see the tactics about how these guys, and it's not every one of them, but it's a lot of them that debate this way. So enjoy.
Just altered the information that was replicated.
I will say, I think you're conflating what macro, or what you think macroevolution is. Macroevolution, the way at least if we define it, is just microevolution over time. I think I'm under the impression you think it just happens overnight, or it just get gigantic change out of nowhere.
I'm not under that impression, but this is what evolutionists do, and I don't know how much you've seen this, and we'll go back and forth, but this is what they always do. You have macroevolution, which is from a different kind of animal, right? You cannot test or observe that. Nobody's ever seen it. So then you want to use the part that is true, which is microevolution, and then say, see, we can make dogs come from dogs, so therefore we all come from a single-celled organism. That's a huge leap, brother. That's not just making a statement. That's not true. Now, going back to my other
what's your background again?
It doesn't matter. That's an argument.
It kind of does matter, because when you have people in evolutionary,
no, I don't want to mute you. Here's the thing about it. We can have a back and forth, man. Hold on. I know, but listen, bro. I promise you, I'll let you talk. I promise. But here, you come in, you jumped on a question, and then I start addressing you, and then you just jumped all over Free when I was right in the middle of his conversation, and we start to diverge. And I've been on too many panels where they allow that to happen, and the host doesn't control the room, and it turns into a free for all. So I would like for you to stay, and I'd like to answer your questions. But I'm going to go back to Free since he was in here first, and I'll address his questions first and not be rude. But going back to my education, either my arguments are sound or they're not. I could be a NASA scientist or a high school dropout idiotic person. Either way, either my arguments are sound or they're not. So if they're not sound, you should be able to destroy them pretty easily and not worry about an argument from authority. I don't have the requisite study material behind this. I didn't get the stamp on the piece of paper, so therefore you're not able to talk about this. This is America. I can talk about it, and if people think it's stupid, then hey, they don't have to stay. Now, free. Going
Get this information from? I'm just curious. Like, how do you arrive at this conclusion?
well, every observable test that we can see in the evolutionary experiments, to include the bacteria experiments, we see this every time.
So, what information is lost? Because you're saying that the change in height, the change in fur. So you're saying the data changes in a way that can't be changed back. So you're not
Yeah.
losing anything. You're
Well,
just altering the data in a way that can't be altered back.
then you should be able to breed it back to a wolf, but you can't.
No, I can answer that.
Go ahead.
So it's a misunderstanding of evolution. Mutations create new information. There's gene duplications, regulatory mutations, insertions, de novo genes, chromosomal fusions. The idea that redoing the process can make you go backwards that's just not how evolution works. And to use it as an argument against evolution, it's fallacious. And that's why I ask what your background is.
Can you show me an example of genetic information gain?
Of genetic information gained? Elaborate.
Okay.
And we'll go against what I said there about the mutation creating new information.
Yeah, you just that's your statement that a mutation creates new information. So I would say no, a mutation takes existing information and duplicates it. That's not new type information. I'll give you a very specific example.
Duplicates it?
What?
Then there wouldn't be change.
Hold on.
That's what new information implies.
Cattle.
No, let me give you a very specific example. Okay, maybe this will help us out because, like I said, this is the second part what evolutionists do. First part is they always show you information loss and then claim it. That's how we all got here, and we can't keep. If we started off as a single-celled organism, we can't get to a human by losing information. Secondly, they always will then just get you stuck on definitions because they don't want to go past to where we actually start looking at evidence. So let me give you a very specific example. You have E. coli bacteria, or just regular bacteria, that became resistant to antibiotics, right? Now, did it gain information in an effort for it to become resistant to the antibiotic?
Yes.
Okay, Waspy, you said yes. What do you think, Lumber?
No, I'm listening. I'm waiting for you to get to the point.
Okay, well, I was just asking you points. So this is an example of loss. So answer your question, was no, it did not gain information. The resistance predated the antibiotic. It was already in the population. It was
How
predated
can you know
the
that?
existence of the antibiotic.
What?
How can you know that?
Because you can, we've dug up, there's the Itzy caveman or whatever that was frozen, and then we can go to permafrost that's frozen and stuff like on woolly mammoths and things like this, and we can test the bacteria that was dead back then because you can revive bacteria, right? And then you can test it against the bacteria to see if they had the resistance. So the theory.
Are you saying resistances have been here and they don't generate? Is that what you're implying?
I'm not implying it. I'm telling you that's a fact. The resistance.
That is not a fact.
No, that's silly. And same with the thing about the information loss argument. That's like saying, why can't I get eggs back after I make a cake? I don't think you're understanding how that works. So an argument for not understanding evolution is not an understanding.
Creation.
I don't want to interrupt you, but then we
That's
move.
crazy.
Can I gauge your knowledge on
Hold on,
evolution?
stop.
He's gonna mute you if you ask him his education.
I'm gonna mute people. I don't want to kick nobody, and I want to have this conversation. I keep saying it, but I'm not one of them hosts that's going to allow just a bunch of frill and then nobody gets nothing out of it. So, Lumberjack, I'm not trying to be rude or interrupt you, and you were talking, but I want to stop right here, and we're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time because you made a claim that's ludicrous, and it's not true. So I want you to Google right now, if you have the ability, does the antibiotic resistant predate the antibiotic? Look that up, and then I'll accept your apology as soon as you Google it. Because I promise.
Say that again?
Did the antibiotic resistance predate the invention of the antibiotic? It did not evolve from facing the antibiotic. It was already here. You claim that I was ludicrous on that. Let's see if I'm right. Since I don't
No. The claim that resistances don't develop and that they've always existed, those are two different things.
I'm going to ask you a very simple question now, because I want to see if I'm crazy or not. Did the antibiotic resistant predate the invention of the antibiotic?
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. Resistances still can be created because when we create antibiotics, it's not a singular antibiotic. We don't use the same antibiotic over and over and over. What's happening is there's going to be a general resistance that comes and is created from the more that it gets exposed to it.
So your theory goes, and according to this is the problem with evolution. I got to teach you guys half the time what your own theory believes. And the problem is it keeps changing so much to suit your facts. So the theory goes, an organism or whatever faces a new threat, and because it faces a new threat, it's
Wait, can I have my
tell me
two
what you got.
cents?
Let me hear it. Go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say.
Can I have my 2 cents? So that's okay.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me finish
Okay,
this flow
sorry.
with one check, and I promise you, let's talk. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, brother. I don't want to rabbit trail too much. It faces a new threat, and then it evolves a mechanism to face that new threat, basically. So the invention of antibiotics, and I was alive when this happened, and this is exactly what they believed. Come on, brother. If you're going to start talking, I'm going to have to. Not only am I going to kick you, I'm going to block you. Okay? I don't want to do that.
Can I correct you on what you were talking about? Because that is
May I
not
let the
correct.
host finish,
You
please?
absolutely can. You can do it in the comments, and if you come up again, I'm going to have to block you. I don't want to do that. But I've already made it very clear that you can do it when it's on your turn, and I've even told you, I promise you, I'll let you talk. So going back to my point, it faces a new threat. It evolves a way around this new threat. And that's what they even believed until they started testing it against stuff that already predated it and realized the resistance was already here. So the bacteria that faced the new threat of antibiotics did not evolve a new method of facing the threat. It just killed all of the bacteria. A couple of million years, we made these huge leaps, these great leaps in evolution. It must have been on steroids. But in bacteria evolution, it's always worse off.
Wait, are you talking about the E. coli evolution experiment? And are you saying that's against evolution? No biologist is going to tell you that. There is not a single. There's not a single. The long-term evolutionary experiment, right? TLEE, Michigan State. Yeah, there is not one evolutionary biologist who's going to tell you that's against evolution. That's our strongest case. One of the strongest cases for evolution. There's mountains of evidence for evolution. That's not like the singular pillar of evolution. And if you want to talk about humans and chimps, we could talk about the chromosomes. Like, you still have to explain that.
Lumber.
If we can go down that road, right?
Sure,
how would you explain that? If the relation between chimpanzees and humans, or at least our ape cousins, isn't real, how do you explain that humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes and there is a human chromosome 2 fusion of 2 ancestral ape chromosomes?
That's a common design. Do you know that the DNA
common design? No.
DNA, which is a blueprint for building a body, right? I have a hand that has 4 fingers and a thumb. There's DNA, there's coding within my DNA that tells the body how to build this. Do you know that code in a monkey would almost be identical? Do you know why? Because a monkey has 5 fingers and 4 fingers and a thumb. So that code is going to look very similar, if not identical. That represents common design, not evolution. Just because that we have a lot of similarities within our genetic code, people never mention all the dissimilarities that we have. That's just as crazy too. So yes, the DNA is going to be very similar because we have similar features. You know, the DNA in my DNA and a monkey's DNA for the code to write 2 eyeballs is going to be very similar. The code for writing a nose or a mouth or an ear is going to be very similar, but it's not.
And why do you think there is similar DNA among certain species?
Common design, and that's what
by design. That's not what a biologist is going to tell you.
I don't care what they say. You just
I know you don't care what they say. Yeah, because every time someone wants to talk about a subject on this, whether it's the centromeres in our evolution or fused telomeres or identical sequences to chromosome 12 and 13 amongst apes and us, that can be verification of a familial relation and the advancement of species through change. But you're just going to say it's a similarity in programming. And that's just not how that works. Because you can look at animals and the progression of them and the changes throughout centuries. And it's either you're going to say that doesn't happen or it was created. And there's proof for one and not the other. That's where the argument is going to lie, and that's where it's going to die. People who are educated in the subject are not going to agree with you, and no one ever has. And that's the problem, is when you have a high school education and you go into something not even understand.
Okay, guy, I'm going to mute you because you're monologuing, okay? You're monologuing. I don't
No,
care
I'm
about
not.
your
If you're not going to let me
insults,
speak, I'm
Lord.
not going to stay here.
You can
You're
can
getting cooked
stay,
in the
but you're
chat.
monologuing, man. I don't care about your insults. I don't. If I have
It's,
an high school education, but let
who
me
said
tell you
who
about
said
your
that's
E.
an
coli
insult?
bacteria
Who said that's
experiment.
an insult? It's an observation.
Okay, well let's prove since you
In the
want to.
same way, I'm not going to let someone who knows nothing about cybersecurity try to talk to me about cybersecurity. It's going to be ridiculous, and we've heard that. In the same way, you're not going to hear someone who's a non-geologist talk about how the Earth is flat. You
Dude,
don't give
listen,
people those
you
platforms
are
because they
too
don't
stupid to
exist.
have this conversation with. Shut up and listen or get off the stage.
I'm
I'm
not.
going to tell
Do
you how
you
your
know
E.
what a
coli
centromere? What's
bacteria
a centromere?
experiment is absolutely fraud. You said that these are the
You
guys
can
that
be
you
mad
listen
all
to.
you want,
No,
dude.
no one believes these guys. I'm going to show you how this E.
What's
coli
a
bacteria
centromere?
experiment is
Host?
absolutely stupid. Now you can stay up here, but if I have to mute you again, I'm going to knock you
Go
because your
for
little
it. Get
insults
mad
about
about it, dog. What's a centromere?
you're too stupid to
What's a
have this
centromere?
conversation. Get off my stage. The E. coli bacteria experiment that you talked about, that you brought up, that I showed you, you talking about the longest running evolutionary experiment? They prove this. No, there's not one scientist that showed that. I don't care. If all the scientists in the world shows you an example of genetic information loss, it's not evolution. The E.
Looks so
coli
dumb.
bacteria started off
It
being able
sounds
to
really
eat two.
dumb.
Oh,
I
hey,
just
hold on,
don't
brother. I
get
got you.
it.
The E. coli bacteria, I'm on a rant. The E. coli bacteria started off by being able to swim with its flagellum. It could be able to eat two food sources, glucose and citric, in two different environments, oxygenated and unoxygenated environment. Because they hand-fed these E. coli bacteria, they lost their flagellum. They can't swim to go get their food anymore. And because it has a genetic switch which allows the transfer proteins that allows the food in changes in the presence of oxygen or no oxygen. That transfer switch, if you will, devolved. So now it eats one food source in two different environments, oxygen or unoxygenated environment. So you have a wild E. coli bacteria, flagellum, glucose, citric, oxygen, no oxygen. Now the ones in the lab that they're doing their evolutionary experiments on lost their flagellum and lost the ability to eat glucose. It eats citrate and oxygen and no oxygen ability now. It is not gaining information, smart guys. So go keep listening to your stupid scientist. And then tell me how I'm wrong. Don't just keep coming up with, well, you're high school educated, so clearly you don't know what you're talking about. Refute the argument or get the heck off the stage.
Yeah.
D, what you got, brother?
Yeah, I was just asking how bacteria disproves evolution.
Did you get, how'd my rant do? Did that help you any?
Yeah, I don't really know too much about. I mean, I kind of know a bit about evolution, but not too much.
I respect it. But
Um,
here's what I would tell you to do in the future. When somebody's talking about evolution, you got to demand that they show you how something gained information. If we went from a single-celled organism to a more complex organism, right? Whatever you want that to be, you would have to admit that there has to be some kind of gain there. There has to be information gain. We can't go from a single-celled organism, then keep losing information and become a human, right? So anytime they say evolution, theistic evolution is true, then say, okay, show me one example of genetic information gain. Stop showing me examples of information loss and then claiming that that's evolution, because that's what they're doing.
what do you mean by What do you mean?
Lumberjack, again, man, sorry, you're not intelligent enough for this conversation. Get the heck off my stage, man. So if that was true, then that would prove evolution, right?
I think that if you could take a Chihuahua and add variations, yeah, which I'm pretty sure you can. If you
No,
can
you
just
can't.
add whatever genetic changes you want in the breeding process, you can arrive at pretty much anything.
That sounds good, but it can't. Lumberjack, are you going to
I
make
can
me
I
back
can
on?
prove the macroevolution part.
No,
Let's
you
talk.
can't. You're too stupid to have this conversation. I'm sorry, I didn't told you that. You want to filibuster when I bring up a point that's about to smack you down with your bacteria evolution, so you're not welcome on the stage. You're welcome to listen, and I'll let you listen. But if you keep popping up, I'm gonna block you. And here we go. I'm gonna have to block you, man, because you're too
You're a
stupid.
coward. You're a
I know I'm a
coward.
coward. I
Yeah,
filibuster.
you're a
That's how much of
coward.
a
Look
coward
at
I
you.
am.
You're
I
scared.
filibuster everybody when they're talking. That's how much of a coward I am. I gave you plenty of opportunity, but you're not smart enough for this conversation. So yeah, if you making a statement, free, saying that we can do that, but yet nope, we haven't, and we can't. Why can't we see any of these changes in the bacteria when we try this?
I would say, hold on, I would say that
Let's
like
talk the
as far
long-term
as
evolution experiment. Let's talk about it.
No, you don't want to talk. I done tried it. You filibuster me.
Hey,
You're too
how about you
stupid
have
to
5
have this
minutes and I have 5
conversation.
minutes? How about we do that?
I'll
How about
wait
we what?
if you guys want to do it. I'll go on mute.
I didn't hear what it was. I'm sorry. Say it again.
Oh, I said I can go on mute if you guys want to do 5 minutes each.
No, I had to block him. I don't mind a heated debate. I don't. But when you know that I'm fixing, what he did was, if you noticed, if anybody's listening and watch this, when I kicked him because he knew I was getting ready to use the bacteria against him, then he's went and Googled. That's why he didn't come back for 20 minutes. He went and Googled his best new argument to face it. He could have just faced me like a man the first time and not filibustered, and I would have let him talk. Now, I don't mind a little bit of interrupting because I do that myself to try to keep people on track. But clearly he didn't want to hear it, so he just kept going and going and going. And I politely asked him to stop so I could get him on track, and then he wouldn't. And now he's went and Googled to see what he can find to fight it, and he's lost the ability to have this conversation because all he wants to do is stay with an argument from authority. If I'm not educated in this argument, then it should be pretty easy for you to make me look stupid. And you keep bringing up genetic information loss. So my point is, back to you, Free.